Your unexplained infertility is actually explainable. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Hi everyone, I am Mara Salerno, Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Practitioner of ReclaimOptimalHealth.com, where I help couples just like you resolve their infertility and get back to creating those families you so deeply desire. Before we get started, if you don't mind, please click on that subscribe link button down below so that you get notifications every week when I post these functional fertility videos every Friday. And please come join me on Instagram at Mara Salerno is where you can find me. And I'm there to chat with you and support you, as well as provide you with some really valuable functional fertility content. So your unexplained infertility may have nothing to do with your lady bits. I know, I'm gonna say that again. You ready? Your unexplained infertility may have nothing to do with your lady bits. And you're probably saying, well, how do you know that? Well, you've gone to the doctor, you've ran all the tests, you've done all the invasive treatments, the hormone medications, the IUI, the IVF, and you still haven't fallen pregnant and you don't have your baby. So it seems like everything's working, but it's not working and you're still struggling with infertility. So I wanted to go through today and explain to you how your unexplained infertility can be explainable using functional lab testing that helps you dig deeper into this puzzle. So the first test that I would recommend you run is a food sensitivities test, because you want to lower your inflammation as much as possible, and eating is one of the most inflammatory things we do on a daily basis. So you want to be able to identify those foods and remove them, and it also helps to refine your unique diet. So a food sensitivities test is something that I use to help someone like you really begin to tailor your diet. Now, number two is to run a gut test or a stool test, because again, we want to reduce as much of the inflammation or the stress on your body, because that helps you become more fertile in nature. So when you run a gut test, you are going to be able to identify if you have any infections, any pathogens like worms or parasites or viruses or bacteria or anything of the sort, as well as look at your good bacteria levels, look at your immune function, and just look over overall inflammation of the gut. And so these are all really important. And so improving your gut health is one of the most crucial steps to improving your fertility. We also know that the gut is responsible for digesting your hormones. And if your overall gut health is poor, then you're not going to be able to digest your hormones properly. And you might be left with, for example, estrogen dominance as a result, because your gut is not able to do its job properly. And this can really affect egg quality, but it can also affect implantation. Now, the third test that I highly recommend is a comprehensive thyroid panel. And I actually have a video on this that I'll link to down below that I go through in more detail. But with a comprehensive thyroid panel, you're looking at more than 1 or 2 or 3 or some hand-picked markers that a conventional doctor will generally run. I look at more like 8 or 9 markers. And we're looking at functional ranges versus conventional ranges. And conventional ranges really have to do with this huge range that's based on the entire population, which is the status quo, which is unhealthy. And then your doctors are comparing you to that, rather I utilize a functional range, which is much smaller and is based on healthy and fertile men and women. So when I get your results, I can compare you to that and say, oh, hey, maybe the thyroid is playing a huge role here. Because we know the thyroid is part of the hormone system, we know the ovaries are part of the hormone system, and then we've got the hormones in general, right? So these are all going to affect each other, and the thyroid really gets missed like a million times out of not. Both in men and women, actually, and men are on the rise as well. Now, the fourth functional lab test that I highly recommend is a minerals and heavy metals test. And minerals are really the spark plugs of the body. They help to signal messages within the entire body. And you want your signals to be as sharp as possible. Because, for example, the brain is the one that signals your ovaries and your adrenals to produce and release hormones that are necessary for reproduction, right? So you want those signals to be just super duper sharp and not dull. And when we're talking about heavy metals, heavy metal toxicity is a big problem, and it can cause infertility. And for example, if you were ever on birth control during your life, birth control emits copper into the body. And I have a video on this as well that I'll link to down below if you want to check it out in more detail. But it's going to rise your copper levels in your body. And we know that copper and estrogen work together because they feed one another. So we'll find that when you have copper toxicity, you'll have estrogen dominance as well, which becomes two problems that are adding to the infertility puzzle of unexplained infertility, right? So you'd want to take care of that. So you can see how functional lab testing can be super duper valuable in really identifying the underlying contributors to your infertility issues. See, because we're going to look upstream. We're not going to just look at your reproductive health and your estrogen and your testosterone, but what is going to be acting upon that system. So looking at the gut, looking at your food, looking at your minerals, and looking at the cause of heavy metals and pathogenic infections, and dealing with those and acting upon it in a natural and holistic way is how I help couples really resolve their infertility and have their baby. So if you're ready to have your baby and you're ready to get out of this unexplained infertility puzzle, then please click on that qualifying call link down below and we can talk about how you can have your baby. I hope this video was helpful for you all, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.